Hi everyone, welcome to the Aspire Beyond Greatness podcast, where I interview inspiring people to share their story to empower school-age kids, athletes and adults to achieve their goals and future life ambitions. Okay, so I am here today with Tofe Evans, who has his own brand, which is his name as a company, and has come up with a book called Everyone Has a Plan Until Shit Hits the Fan, which is an awesome name. Okay, so Tofe, my first question for you is based off this idea that I started rowing when I was 14 and I became a world champion when I was 18. And, you know, everyone sort of has a time frame when they start their journey. So I would like to know, what advice would you give to your 14-year-old self?
Oh, that's an awesome question. I would say don't stress as much and maybe just relax a little.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Could you please elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, because sometimes we sweat the small stuff. Even today, I tend to sweat the small stuff a little bit. It's just because we're so immersed in adversity or whatever's going on around us, it feels like the worst thing in the world. And we always come out of it stronger. And if I could tell myself, it'd just be don't sweat the small stuff.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel that maybe when you were younger that you did tend to sort of stress a little bit more about things?
Around the stupid things. Yeah. Around the things that didn't really matter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny because I feel like when you're younger, everything seems like a big deal. And then as you get older, you sort of think, well, I went through that, so I'll be okay, you know? So that's a really good perspective. Okay. My next question is, so you're obviously doing super well for yourself and you've built up this huge brand. So how did you decide on the career that you have?
Funnily enough, I used to be an engineer, right? Mm-hmm. So I had an engineering background. I was a designer, and I thought I was going to be doing that forever because I love designing, but I grew out of the passion and the curiosity for it because there was a common trend where people didn't let me design how I wanted to, so there was restriction there, and everyone I worked with was only striving for the weekends, and I really don't like that. I know there's this massive talk of thank God it's Friday, but I thought, if it's like, why does Friday have to feel any different from Monday and vice versa? Or why does Tuesday have to feel like Sunday or whatever? Like, every day you should just kind of cherish it. So I was working and I felt really alone and disconnected everywhere I worked because everyone was always striving for the weekend. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I would try and get in early, and when everyone came in, I would just put headphones in straight away. So I was instantly disconnected from everyone because I just didn't feel, I felt so alone there as well. And as well, I was losing my passion for designing because I was not allowed to do the vision I wanted to. Mm-hmm. So I decided to follow in the field I was in because it got to a stage where everyone I'd met is saying to me, dude, you should be writing, you should be speaking. Yeah. And I was like, whatever. And I'm like, I hated those things at school, but it's been like 10, 11 years now. And I'm thinking, looking at it now, these are the things I do the most. And running, I hated running, but I do running a lot now. But yeah, I thought, let's just take a gamble on this. And yeah, so that's how I fell into my, I guess, profession I'm in, because I guess enough people wanted me doing it and it was in demand. And then I kind of fell in love with it a little bit.
Mm. Awesome. Yeah, no, I think that's an awesome perspective to have too, because I mean, I'm in a full-time job now and you really do notice that a lot of people sort of wish away the days and they wish away the weekends, and it's almost like they're wishing away their life, and you sort of think, this is the only life you get. You may as well enjoy it. So I think that's really awesome that you were able to, you know, take a step back and now go into something that you're passionate about, and to be able to share your message and inspire a lot of people. That's, you know, that's could be, you know, how you can get much better than that. So that's awesome. Okay. All right. So what has been your greatest lesson in life?
Oh, that's such a thought-provoking question. I'm loving these questions, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I put a bit of thought into it. Yeah, it's meant to sort of get people on edge a bit. So thank you.
Yeah, because I always usually asked the same questions, which is fine, but I thought this is kind of cool and getting asked some questions. The biggest thing I've learned in life? to look at adversity, like embrace adversity instead of looking at it like a chore. Because it does great. I always relate it back to the greats that have all lived, right? And they, like, I don't know if you've read many biographies, autobiographies, even memoirs. Yeah. They'll talk about some dark time in their books, whoever wrote the books, and they all came from a trajectory of pain. And it's like, okay, that's, I guess, reassuring, where you can say, okay, they came from pain, so the pain I'm going through, maybe this is what I need to be part of the process. So definitely looking at adversity like the proponent to greatness.
Yeah, definitely. And it sounds like you've been through some things as well that have helped you get to a place where you're able to understand that better as well, because I think it'd be difficult to not, sort of read about that but not fully understand it unless you've lived some of those things for yourself too. Okay, awesome. So adversity is important. Very cool. What has been your greatest setback?
Oh, that's awesome. Greatest setback. Mentally? Well, there was a time where I couldn't think. There was a time where it was like a little bit more than brain fog. It felt more than brain fog. It was when depression and anxiety is working together. So you've got this mental tug of war pulling and pushing you because you don't care about anything and then you care about everything at the same time. And you don't know how to feel, and it's really taking away from you, and your habits just get destroyed. And I knew, I needed to come back from that because, I didn't know if I was going to ever come out of it. And it's incredibly scary. It's kind of like what I was talking about before, being alone in the workforce. But you feel alone because you don't want to talk to anyone. You don't really resonate with anyone because you're seeing it from a different lens now, a lens where there's no clarity and you're just going through tunnel vision in the worst way possible. There's no panoramic vision. So to come out of that was years ago. That was probably my biggest setback.
That's awesome. Okay. Thanks for sharing that. And how did that sort of come about? Was that, I think I've sort of looked into it as an experience you had when you were traveling, but I could be wrong.
It was from when I was traveling, and there was nothing against the traveling. It was I was masking everything. So I was bottling up everything. I always use the analogy of when you put like a Mentos in a Coke bottle and you close it up. That was me, but at a slow motion rate. I was masking. I just wasn't happy who I was as a person, so I tried to be someone else. I would cover everything up with like lots of alcohol, lots of drugs. And it kind of became like this tidal wave, and it just kind of hit me hard, really hard, because I was imploding, right? And I wasn't myself. And people ask, how do you be authentic? Just be you. Like, you're the only one in this world. No one can ever be you. And I wasn't being me. I was trying to be other people because I wasn't happy with who I was as a person.
Yeah, that's a great visual that you gave with the Mentos in the Coke bottle. I really like that, and I think it sort of goes off this idea of pushing the beach ball down in the water, and you just keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and then eventually it's just going to fly up because you can't push it down anymore. You have to be who you are, just like what you were saying. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. Okay.
Welcome.
So, on the flip side, what are you most proud of, or what has been your greatest accomplishment so far?
Yeah, sure. In my book, I mentioned it at the very end, actually. So I've done some pretty crazy races. I've won some accolades and whatever, but I guess when I know I can come back from anything mentally, because here's the thing with the mind is so profound that it's intangible, right? You can't touch the mind, but it controls everything that is tangible about us. So that's the crazy thing. Like, we have something that you can't actually see or touch, but it can control everything. So for me, when I can control my mind and do anything I want to do, that is to me my greatest achievement.
Yeah, wow, that's so profound. That's amazing. So you're almost like training this muscle that you can't see to make it the best that it can be for yourself and the people around you.
Totally.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Oh, that's really cool. All right. Okay. So my next question, I have this idea that when you wake up in the morning, when you go to social situations, when you go to work, wherever you turn up, whatever you're doing in life, you come with a certain skill set and personality. So you could be really positive or really genuine or really confident. Everyone has their own thing. So what do you turn up with when you turn up in life?
I'm going to say empathy or compassion, one of the two. I'm always here to help people. I'm always trying to, if someone's upset, I'll try and make them happy. Coming from their perspective, I feel there's not enough kindness in this world. Like, we have enough smart people, and I look at smart people like the rate of technology, right? They're not dying anytime soon. But like, we're not dying less of them anytime soon. Like, there's just going to be more and more. But I feel like kindness needs to be kind of looked at just as much. So that's just something I want to come to, because when you've gone through your own pain, you don't want anyone to go through what you've been through. And you look at things from an entirely different lens. You're so much more empathetical. And I guess that's what endurance sports has done for me when you're running stupid long distances, because you come across so many mental blocks. And in rowing too, right? There are times when you can't max out all the time.
Yeah.
There are times where you just say, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to get through this one. And very similar in a race, and you're like, okay. And there are times where there's people struggling, and you want to be there for them and offer them what you got. So I feel I can come from a pretty powerful empathy level. And that's not to toot my own horn. That's just knowing from what I'm good at, because I think the way I was raised. So I think it just kind of naturally rubbed off on me.
Yeah, I think it's amazing the things that you learn from sports, definitely. I had a coach when I was at Syracuse University overseas, and he taught me probably everything I know, I would say. And there was so many lessons in just like the whole perspective of determination and teamwork. And, you know, he always told us, like, when we went for jobs after we graduated, that, you know, why would anyone want to pick an athlete over someone who just studied really hard and was really smart? And it's like, well, because, you know, I'll turn up. I woke up at this time every day. I trained for this many hours. You know, I worked my ass off. I was able to accomplish X, Y, Z, like all the things that you're able to do as an athlete. I think teach you so much more than just sort of people that, you know, that don't really pursue those other things. So yeah, that's really cool that you're able to do that. Another thing I want to speak to, I love your idea of kindness, and I watched this video yesterday with Lady Gaga, and she's sitting next to the Dalai Lama, and I'm not sure if you've seen it before. She says that kindness is free, you know, and it doesn't have a color, or it's not something that we're able, you know, sort of like the tangible idea that you were talking about with the brain before. And it's not always something that you can see straight away, but it's something that we should all aspire to want more of. So yeah, I really like that idea.
That's awesome.
It's cool. Okay. Yeah. So my next question is, what inspires you every day?
What inspires me every day? I get inspiration kind of changes for me all the time. Like, I guess I have like overall purpose. Like, I have the purpose that's like the overall ones, but there's lots of things that inspire me every day, right? Like, every time I come across someone that's breaking their own limits, like you and I who both love sports, I am a sucker for people that break world records, right?
Yeah.
I love watching it on, especially like when you see it live or when you watch it like highlights. It always gets my heart racing. Like, that inspires me because it just shows what humans are capable of. And just anyone that can break their own limits, I love that. But I guess the inspiration of like the internal, like that's, I guess, external, but internally for me, what keeps me going is, I guess, the overall vision of I just want to make as many people I can make mentally stronger, or just hit them in the field somehow to show them that they're worth everything. So every time I can get closer to that, so that's why I wrote the book, because that was generally what I wanted to get out of it. Like, I wanted to bring some impact with it. So I guess the impact, what I could bring, that's what inspires me to keep going. But it's also from other people that break their own limits as well. And it's not just in sport. It could be, you know what, like I've got friends that have lost limbs and lost eyes, and they're still able to keep on keep on trucking, which is very inspirational to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think as well, on top of that, like, because you've been through, from what it sounds like, you've been through so much yourself that you're able to see, you know, you can take a step back and you see those people for more than what maybe other people are able to, because you've been through that resilience, and you can look at those people and think, wow, they're doing amazing things, you know, whereas I think sometimes in life we sort of just walk around and we don't really recognize everyone's journey as much. So I think because of what you have experienced that you're able to, you know, acknowledge that a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my next question is, who has been your biggest supporter?
Well, I would say my parents, easily.
Yeah.
Maybe,
do you want to elaborate?
Maybe mum more on her side, but easily my parents.
So have they sort of been there for you through all the big moments and the other, you know, the tough times as well, or do you want to elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, I look at them like heroes. I guess they see the vision what I have as well, and they just want to see me happy, and they've helped me through the really tough times, and they've also been there when for example, I was in the Himalayas about this time last year for a race, and they were supporting me on the other side of the world, and just they'll show up to my events, or they'll just be there, and I'm incredibly grateful for that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And those people are the ones that sort of get you to where you want to be. Hey, I think I love this idea of, you know, build your tribe and surround yourself with people that, you know, hold you accountable and make you sort of better. So it sounds like their support has really encouraged you to be, you know, the amazing person that you are today. So that's really cool.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Cool. No worries. So my last thing is I want to thank you so much for letting me interview you. And I want to say that I really appreciated your deep insight and your analogies into things. I think they're really cool. And I think for a really young person, your level of resilience and what you bring to the table is amazing. Your honesty, I love how honest you were about some of these questions that I asked you. They're pretty confronting sometimes. So thanks for that. And I think the world definitely needs more kindness. So for you to have that as, you know, something that you really want to bring into the world, I think that's amazing. So yeah, thank you so much for letting me interview you today.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I like to come with realness. Like I want it so that if someone were to meet me, it's not different from how I am on social channels, because they're just extensions of who we are. So I wanted to come from like a really real point of view. That's it. Like I didn't want it so I'm hiding anything. So if anyone else that's listening, they can resonate because they might be going through the same thing, right? Like I guess especially like loneliness, like it can be a silent killer. There's nothing worse, and now because humans are wired for connection, right? So if we feel alone, there's a disconnect somewhere, and it's essentially a heartbreak because it's taking us away from who we are as from the hearts. So that's why I thought I'd be super real, just so people can. You never know who can resonate from this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's like a whole other spectrum of things going on for people. I mean, I work in social work now, so I do work with a lot of people that have, you know, mental illnesses and struggles every day, and I think it's really inspiring. And I guess in a little bit of a different perspective, in that I sort of look at it now as when I walk in and I talk to families, rather than focusing on their problems and some of the things that they're struggling with, I try to focus on what are your goals? What do you want to change a situation? Because I think that we can all sort of manifest this idea of, you know, getting depressed and anxious and stuff if we keep talking about it. But if you sort of focus on who do you want to become, what are your goals, and you work towards them, then at least you're sort of taking the negative energy out of it and trying to focus on moving forward. So that's how I kind of sit with that. But yeah, no, I think it's amazing that you've obviously been through some really tough things. And yeah, so thanks for sharing that. And obviously like your book and stuff, I'm really excited to check that out. And it's, going to inspire lots of people, I'm sure.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And it's